Joining us now is Democratic Congressman Raul Ruiz of California. He worked as an emergency physician during the H1N1 outbreak. It's so good to see you right now, Congressman. I want to start with what happened at the White House press briefing, where we learned that the Defense Production Act is going to be invoked, not just to get more things like ventilators made, but also very specifically protective gear for healthcare workers. I'm wondering if in conversations with your friends, former colleagues, you can tell us how great the need really is right now.
The need is really great. We are 2 months behind because of the slow start and the administration taking this very serious. So this is welcoming news that the president is now starting to take aggressive measures. We're trying to catch up because of the latency, but we need to be able to hold the front line. In order to save lives, we need to protect that front line, meaning that we need to provide the masks, the ventilators, the gowns, and we also need to provide the medical personnel from FEMA, the Department of Defense, and other doctors and nurses to go set up tent hospitals, tent shelters, tent drive-through testings in the most vulnerable areas.
We got some questions, Congressman, from our viewers about what this emergency relief package might involve. One viewer asks, does the emergency relief package include self-employed workers? We can't get unemployment benefits. My job requires me going into people's homes. I finish drywall, repair plaster, and paint. Congressman?
Well, the first response to that question is, at this point, you should avoid being in groups where there's more than 10 people and protect yourself from any potential risk of getting the infection. And the answer specifically is yes. The Families First Act will give tax credits to the individuals who are self-employed.
As a recipient of monthly Social Security direct deposit, one of our viewers asks, will funds be disbursed on time as usual? We have gotten this question a lot from concerned seniors.
Yeah, the answer to that is yes, it should be dispersed as expected, and so that shouldn't be a problem.
As an emergency physician who's dealt with emergency crises, this question from Lisa in Seattle might be right up your alley. Lisa asks, has anyone thought about recruiting volunteers of medical students for help with staffing hospitals, giving them kind of a crash course?
Well, there's a lot of residents who are much more trained and much more experienced than medical students at this point. Right now is a time to save lives and to reinforce the front line. So the doctors who are licensed and trained should be the ones that should really be out there. People have thought about it and asked that question, but the aggressive measures should be to mobilize physicians and nurses from different areas and send them towards the weak points in the front line. In fact, I have a bill called the Good Samaritan Law that will allow physicians to move to different locations and be protected from liability in order for them to volunteer at a hospital or at a shelter or somewhere during this pandemic.
And before we get to one last question, it's worth noting that during today's White House briefing, it was mentioned that regulations were waived that would allow doctors to work across state lines to try to kind of ease this gap.
So let me ask you, I mean, obviously you have a day job, and what you guys are doing right now, and women is very, very important. There's a lot of folks who are looking to the federal government, but have people asked you if you would step in based on your experience during H1N1? Have you thought about that? I know I'm putting you on the spot, Congressman.
I've thought about No, I have. I mean, it's my natural inclination to get out there in the front lines. And that is always a possibility depending on how severe this gets. Right now, I'm problem solving, giving my experience and my position to work with different cities to problem solve the bottlenecks in order to get them the supplies and move the ball forwards in terms of social distancing. You see, the Coachella Valley, where I represent, is a hot spot right now. We have the demographics are older. We have higher incidences of illnesses. We're a tourism community, and so already we've had 3 deaths, and we have a lot of people infected.
Congressman Raul Ruiz, thanks very much for talking to us.
And thanks to all of you for watching this hour of MSNBC Live. We're back all week at 1 p.m.